The Spiritual Handyman, bringing spiritual tools to the hands of the people who need them. Sponsored by the Eagle Heart Foundation. The Eagle Heart Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that brings charitable contributions and educational enhancements to the people. So how can you be a part of the Spiritual Handyman and the Eagle Heart Foundation? The Triple Win Situation. This book was written by Granddaughter Crow, and half of the proceeds go to the Eagle Heart Foundation, which in turn sponsors the Spiritual Handyman. How to get it one? It's on Amazon and Kindle for only $9.99. So we are here to bring tools to you. Thank you so much, Spiritual Handyman. We believe in what you do.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Spiritual Handyman Internet TV show, putting spiritual tools into the hands of the people that need them. I am Jason Antelek, your host, and today we're going to be talking to Donna Blevins, who is a MindShift expert, and her new book, MindShift on Demand, is chock full of tools, and she is going to share some of those with us today. I want to remind you folks out there that you can find us at thespiritualhandyman.com. You can watch all of the videos, past and present. Also listen to the podcast from thespiritualhandyman.com. If you'd like to support the show and donate or be a sponsor, you can find links to do just that at The Spiritual Handyman. We're also on YouTube, of course, and we do post on Instagram and Facebook, so you can find us through any of those. You can like, follow, share, comment, do all the cool stuff, and help build the community. So again, today we have Donna Blevins with us. She holds a couple of master's degrees and a doctorate, so PhD in the house, gotta love it. And she is going to share with us her MindShift on Demand techniques. This is about getting away from fear and anxiety and worry, and when you're overwhelmed, how to shift that mindset and to anchor yourself into a different reality. And as we all know, that happens to everybody, right? And that is exactly what this show is about. So I am really excited to have Donna on today. Donna, introduce yourself, please, and tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, thank you, Jason. I'm so happy to be on your show, The Spiritual Handyman. I love the name of the show. A little bit about me. Well, I'm sitting here in my chair. I want to tell you that I am 6 feet 5 inches tall. The reason I tell you that is because it's one of the things that has been part of my life throughout my life. We are so focused on physicality. And I was able to understand, because of that physical aspect of my life, that it is more of a mental game than a physical game.
Wow, that's great. And I love Zig Ziglar's quote on the front of your book. We look up to Donna both physically and spiritually. I think I'm probably misquoting it slightly, but it's really neat that you embrace that and make it a part of everything, because it's going to come up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to come up. And when I was on a television show back in the 80s, I was on the show with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and because they wanted someone who could be who could make the people comfortable. Kareem was 7'2" up here, and Gary Collins, who was the host of our magazine, was 6'2", and I wore 3, 4, 5-inch heels in those days. And I shared the story about my basketball in high school because I was such a poor basketball player. I had grown so fast. I grew 9 inches in 1 year, and I was so awkward. I couldn't dribble. I had a double-handed overhead shot. And after every game, I would say, why am I such a poor basketball player? And 20 years after I graduated from high school, I was on the show with Kareem, and he asked me if I played basketball, and I shared that story with you about what a terrible basketball player I was. And he asked me what my average score was, and I told him, and he started laughing. He threw back his head, and he was howling. And I felt ashamed. And he said, "Do you know Magic Johnson?" And I said, "Sure do." And he said, "Well, Magic is the most valuable player this year. His average game is 23 points." And I had a mega mind shift in that moment. I said, "Do you mean that my 36-point average throughout high school meant that I was a good basketball player?" And Kareem said, "No, you were a star." And what I realized in that moment, Jason, was that I had been counting the wrong things. I counted the number of times I missed rather than the number of times I scored. And that's our biggest problem in life, is we focus on the mistakes, the illnesses, the troubles, without celebrating our wins. And it happens throughout our life. And it happened with me in Halloween, on Halloween of 2013, when I had a massive center left brain stroke, and I was completely muted except for 2 words, by the way. I could say Donna, and I could say crap.
Well, those are handy.
Yeah, those are handy. And all along the way, the healthcare team is saying she will never be able to speak fluidly again. It'll take her 8 to 9 months before she can speak. And I had an internal remote control, kind of like the one you have for, your TV, except it only had a few buttons: cancel, delete, forward, clear. And anytime they would say that, rather than buy into the illness, I chose to detach and observe. And I did a MindShift exercise that people have called my signature MindShift exercise. And would you like for me to share that with your audience?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. This is your signature tool, and you've already shared with me that it has saved people immense amount of issues, and even on occasion saved a life or two, huh?
Yeah, and my heart has been warmed, and tears flow down my face when people will contact you. In texting, somebody will say, "Well, you saved my life," and you kind of discount the value of that because of the massive text, and you say, well, tell me more. And I got one email back, and a man had said that he was ready to use a pistol that he had 1 bullet, and he saw a replay of when I first shared the MindShift exercise about 4 years ago. And he said he listened to it, and he just fell down on his knees and he started crying. And he was actually one of the last people to edit the book, MindShift on Demand.
Wow,
So
it's amazing how things work that way, isn't it?
yeah.
And you really did. You got out there, you got your message out there, you shared your story with the world, and authentically impacted somebody else's life in a positive way. And that is something that I deeply connect with and respect. So thank you for being brave enough to share your story. I know personally, having gone through post-concussion syndrome, that there are some times when you have a lot of questions, and at some point you just kind of make a decision and you stop listening and you start doing. And when you start doing, things start changing. And you're really working on that mindset. And I've heard multiple times that our life is 80% mental. There's a lot of physical, but that 80% mental, that toughness and that ability to influence our thoughts or direct ourselves in a positive way is super powerful. So easy tools to get us there. So let's do that. Please share your signature mindset exercise with us.
Okay. So whoever's listening, and if what I'd like for them to do is I'd like for them to get to a place where they can close their eyes. If you're driving, you can listen to this and you can do it later, because in part of it, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. So what I want you to do is I want you to bring up a situation that has caused you extreme stress. Now, I realize that we're not supposed to focus on the negative, but I want to show you how you can embrace it and shift from it. So bring it to mind, and something that's really terrible. And what I want you to do is rate where you are, because we have to have quantitative valuation of something. We have to have numbers. So rate it with 0's nothing and 10 is terrible. It's just dreadful, like you would a pain scale. So the first step is, before you start the exercise, is you bring it to mind and you rate where you are. Then the first step in the exercise is to forgive yourself for where you are, because we are our own worst enemy. And even though you might not mean it, just say, I forgive you, and say your name. I talked to myself. I said, I forgive you, Donna. And then the second step is to ask it, this situation, to show itself. Ask it to take a three-dimensional form. With your eyes closed and your mind's eye, see it. If you have any difficulty with it taking a form, give it a name and look at that word. Because when it becomes a three-dimensional figure in your mind's eye, it has boundaries. It's no longer out there and all around you. It is now finite. And just notice it. The next step is to step back one step from it. And as you do, you are disconnecting from it rather than owning it. And just watch it. Watch this three-dimensional form. And as you step back, it's moving away from you. It's getting dimmer. It's getting smaller. And in that moment, as you're noticing it, just say, isn't that interesting? You can do it with a smile because that changes the chemicals in your body as well. And you can say it out loud, isn't that interesting? If you're in a public place, sometimes people are going to want to know what is interesting. But just say that. And as you do, again, it is moving further and further away from you. Then you open your eyes, you look up and to your right, continue looking up, pivot your body 45 degrees to the right, and as you do, ask, where would I rather be? It's unnecessary to answer it because you've given your subconscious a question to answer. And our subconscious is a perfect recorder. It's a lousy playback system, and we need to send down code modifiers, and that's in essence what you're doing. Where would I rather be? And when you come back to that moment, then rate where you are with that situation. Give it a number. I've had people go from an 8 to a 3. I did the MindShift exercise with people, with veterans, U.S. veterans with chronic pain, and I had 2 people out of 13 nearly jump out of their chairs and said they went from an 8 to a 3. I've had people go from a 10 to a 2. I've had people stay at an 8, and that's okay. Because if you're focusing on something and it stays there, likely what's happening is there's more underlying that's giving you the stress. We just have to peel back the layers like we would an onion. So how did that feel to you, Jason?
That was really powerful. It was easy for me to come up with something that I wanted to address. And as you were progressing through the steps, it made such sense. My analytical mind was satisfied, and the spiritual side of me was satisfied at the same time. And I love the practical approach and the power of taking that step back and the detachment. That was really immense for me. It was almost like I had the scene in my head, and it was kind of latched down right on the sides, like it had latches, and I was able to just release the latches and let it go. And I realized that I was choosing to hold on to it. And by letting it go and watching it fade into the distance, I went from an 8 to a 2, I would say. And I know that if that comes up again, I can use the same process. A really interesting part of it, and I'd love to know more about this particular step, is the shifting of the 45 degrees. How is that significant?
First of all, you're looking up and to the right because you're accessing the right hemisphere of the brain, which is the creative part. And when you pivot 45 degrees to the right, you're bringing the physicality in it. The more we do subtle body movements, we activate other parts of our brain. the more parts of our brain we activate, the more we have control over having emotional agility. The more we are shifting away from being engrossed in stress or anxiety or trauma or whatever it is. And the more subtle physicality that we do, the more our brain becomes engaged.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense in a very scientific and practical way. So thank you for elaborating on that. And the remembering, the looking up and to the right, that obviously is just as significant for the reasons that you shared. So thank you for sharing your signature move with us. I'm sure you were quite the basketball player, because that was pretty smooth.
Yeah, but I kept saying, I kept asking. And by the way, I was in high school for 5 years. I wasn't slow. We didn't have junior high in those days. It was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I have to tell you that because I almost said when I was in high school for 5 years, if I had said that before I explained it was a 5-year school, people would say, oh, she was slow. They've done that before. My husband said, would you please tell them that it is a 5-grade school. And by the way, I have to let you know, I am 6 feet 5 inches tall, and I give you another chuckle. My husband, who is one of the few people I truly look up to, is 5'3".
Well, there you go. All right. There's so much between you.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
That's beautiful.
right.
There's just that much more space to fill things with. I love it.
Oh, I love that. That's a great analogy. I'll tell him that. He'll love that too. His name is Gregory, and I call him Gregory the Great.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. That's amazing. So along with your signature move, obviously you have some other tools. So specifically around the anxiety and the worry, and help me understand and help our viewers and listeners connect with some of those simple tools that you prescribe for us to get out of those kind of spaces.
I'm actually going to share with you a MindShift exercise that is not in the book, MindShift on Demand, because I actually created this about a year ago, just after the book was published. Are you okay? Did you drop something?
Well, I spilled something, but we will travel on.
Okay, as long as you're okay.
I'm okay. The desk, not so much. Me, I'm fine.
Okay, desk will dry. I was actually, I was told to actually go do a book signing at a flea market. And frankly, I thought that was ludicrous to go to a flea market in the middle of winter. Granted, I'm in Florida, and it's different than, it's 50 degrees here, and I think it's cold at 50. Other people think that that's short sleeve weather. But during that, what I discovered, Jason, is a powerful truth. I was under the impression that my book, because of my age, was just for people who were my peers. And I want you to know that I was mistaken. What I discovered at the flea market is people from all age groups would stop because they were very interested in what was going on. The woman who was beside of me said, look, you need to stress the fact that you're also a professional poker player. The poker part of it, the men will stop, the women will buy the book. And I thought, well, okay. What happened is the men stopped. We started talking about poker. They love the fact that poker is certainly a card game played by people, but it's most importantly a people game played with cards, and it's a mental game. So they said, well, we'll take the book. Then the one that I want to share with you was at the end of my tour of doing flea market trips. There were 3 teens who came to me that weren't associated with each other. 3 teens came in this one day, and each one of them was dealing with extreme anxiety, and one said that she was so depressed that she was suicidal. And I asked her if she was willing to step over to the side, and I would create a safe place for her right there, away from other people's ears, and speak with her. And she said yes, she would do that. And she shared her trauma with me. And I was unsure exactly what would work well for her. And I thought it's kind of like going to that's, I guess, the spiritual place and asking myself, what does she know that she can use? And the first thing that came to mind is she knows a touch screen. So I said, okay, you have a smartphone, right? She said, yes. I said, so imagine in front of you right now, and this is what made me think of it, because you mentioned having the screen in front of you. Imagine that you have a screen in front of you right now, and I want you to project on that screen this issue that you've been dealing with. Can you see it? And she said, yes, I can see it right there in front of me. And I said, it's just within your touch. Okay, it's about 1.5 feet from you, right there. I said, are you okay? You're a safe place. Can you see it? And she said, yes. I said, what I want you to do is reach up, take a bottom left, and send it away. And she's tiny, and she was bending over, and she was very depressed, and her body language was telling me that, that I'm talking about. And so she reached over and she did that, and when she did, she straightened up, and her eyes got just like she had seen Christmas, like a Christmas present, like a tree. And I said, okay, now let's create another screen. I said, would you please bring to mind sometime when you've been really happy? I said, is there a time that you can recall when you were joyful? And she said, there are few, but yes, I can call one. I said, bring it to mind. Now project it on the screen. Do you see it? She said, yes, I do. I said, do you feel it? She said, yeah. I said, do you smell it and taste it? She said, yes, I do. I said, now reach up, take it, and slowly move it over to the left, so that becomes your archive. So when the situation comes up, any situation comes up that's causing you stress, project it on the screen, send it away, and you can bring in your archive screen. Will that work? And she was standing up straighter, and she said, that is perfect. I can do that anytime I want to.
That is applicable to everything. Anything that comes up, it's right there. You could use it in the moment, because you can take a view of what you're dealing with and put it on the screen and shift it right there in the moment. Well, your book really does support the way you do things. Very quick, like quick with all capital block letters. Quick, do it right now. It's not about instant gratification. It's about instant results.
It's about taking action, and that's exactly what it is. It takes about 40 days to create a habit. And if I were to come up with a motto of what I believe, it's shifting negative habits to positive patterns. And that's what I believe that we can do when we practice the concept of mind shifting. And it's nice if we had an hour to do meditation. And my mind shift exercises, people have told me it's like yoga and meditation on steroids. And my poker coaching clients that I've been working with for the past 20 years, and the executives that I've worked with, said, look, we needed things that we need to make decisions quickly. Executives said they love the mind shift exercises because in the middle of stress at work, they can take 90 seconds, they can take 30 seconds and do a mind shift, and they will feel entirely different. And there's small shifts that you can do before you go into a business meeting, before you go on a date. But I want to suggest that people go to specific places on the internet, like the spiritualhandyman.com and mindshiftoндemand.com. But please stay away from the social so much, because it's damaging us on a spiritual level, I believe.
Right. While there are great mediums out there, there are distractions that can be very disruptive to our path and who we are, and the programming that is available. I find myself in resistance to it quite often. I do spend a lot of time posting on social media and checking out other people's stuff that I'm connected with. And sometimes you've got to be very discerning and limit your time, right, to what is really effective for you, and then move on to do something else.
That's exactly right. And one of the things I want to suggest is that if you practice a mind shift exercise only 10 minutes a day, I believe that that's all you need to get in the habit of doing it. It takes, like I mentioned, 40 days to create a habit, but you don't need to do an hour a day. You can do 10 minutes a day. But what I want you to do is set a timer. So you do it at the same time. Set a timer on your phone. Everybody's got a timer on their phone. And to spend that time for yourself, because let's face it, are you worth 10 minutes a day?
Absolutely. We all are. We're all worth our entire day because that's who we spend it with.
That's right. And if people go to mindshiftoндemand.com, scroll down and you can opt in for a 4-minute audio of the MindShift exercise. Isn't that interesting that I just shared with you? And I'm going to be having complimentary webinars, and people have said you must get your MindShift exercises into small, manageable courses. So I'm actually putting together a suite of small courses, so they're in very short modules so people can do them on the fly.
So really streamlining the process.
Yes.
Right. And allowing people access to it so they can apply it quickly, find out what works too, right? Because different mind shift exercises, I would imagine, work differently for different folks. Is that true?
Yes, and everyone, by using them continually, everyone is transformed to be something of yours. Because you say, well, I'd like to change this or change that, and that's perfectly okay. Rather than being cut in stone, they're just a framework for you to work with. Now, there's 12 mind shift exercises in a book that's 15 chapters, and what I recommend is that you read 1 chapter a day rather than trying to run through the book, because on the mind shift exercises, they're presented in a detailed method, then stepped through, and then what I call a quick shift. So they're in a shortened form so that you can do things quicker once you understand how to do that mind shift exercise. And some of them may seem a little odd, but that's okay. You don't have to believe, rather than needing to believe they're going to work, all you need to do is do them and take action.
I'm a huge supporter of taking action. New actions, new outcomes. If you find a new way and it works for you, that is producing new outcomes, and it will shift your mindset and it will change your life. Absolutely. So you shared with us the website mindshiftoндemand.com that we can sign up there. Will getting on your email list, will that let us know when your courses are going to come out?
That's exactly right. I'm actually streamlining it. I had been scattered, and I'll admit, I'm transparent. I had a lot of different websites, and I have a poker site, which is biggirlpoker.com. The reason being that I am the big girl of poker. But even my poker coaching clients, I'll let you know that when the book was, I thought, ready to publish in Halloween of 2013, that's when I said, I want proof that my mind shift exercises work, and that's when I had the stroke. My poker coaching clients told me to take the poker stories out of the book because they wanted it to be the foundational book, because they use the mind shift exercises in every part of their life. And they said, we want to be sure that people understand it's for everything. And they said, sure, life is a game. But it's a foundational book for the mind shifting. So yes, I will be notifying people of the courses that'll be coming out, and I'm available for individual mentoring and coaching. If someone's dealing with a stressful situation, just, opt into my site, and when you get a reply back, just reply back to me and say, Coach, I'd like some help. Don't call me Dr. Donna. Call me Coach. That's all I need.
Call me Coach. I like it.
Call me Coach.
Thank you. Coach Donna. All right. Well, thanks for sharing all the information. I will be repeating that info and the links and connections that are available to get into touch with Donna, get signed up for her future courses. That will all be in the description of the video. And Donna, it has been an absolute pleasure. I was looking so forward to meeting you, and it, of course, did not disappoint. You have such great information, and it's so applicable in our daily lives. Thank you for championing that concept and bringing it to the world. And thank you so much for your time today and being on the Spiritual Handyman Internet TV show.
Jason, it was my pleasure. Thank you.
Well, I will hope to get to know you some more, and I can't wait to dive deeper into the book. And I'm really looking forward to those little short courses. I think that's an amazing way to help people. So I already know that this mind shift thing can help me in my daily life, and I hope that our viewers and listeners feel the same way. You guys remember that you can catch us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Feel free to subscribe, like, and to share, let everybody know about the Spiritual Handyman and help build the community. It's all about putting spiritual tools into the hands that need them. We thank you, Donna. We thank all of our listeners and viewers, and we will see you guys on the next episode.